Hi, I've been asked by a couple of viewers to explain how I use four fingers on my plucking hand. I'll go over that for a little bit, along with going over how I use three fingers on my plucking hand. A lot of people who play with three fingers use their index, their middle, and their ring. I use my thumb, my index, and my middle. The reason for this is your thumb is actually a very useful tool when plucking. It is far more adept at skipping strings downward than any of your other fingers, as it's hinged to go down this way. Alright, let's start out. The main advantages of using four fingers, or three, if that's what you choose, is more stamina in your right hand. It takes twice as much work to get the same amount of notes out with two fingers. Also, you can get some interesting combinations of notes using this amount of fingers rather than two that are easier to do. Little four note runs that are very quick. Same with three fingers if you use just your thumb, your index, and middle. The main disadvantages of using this many fingers is you're obviously not going to be muting the strings as often with your thumb if you're using your thumb when you're plucking with it. Something to help with that is to use an elastic band, usually a scrunchy type hair tie over the nut of your neck. That can aid in muting the strings. Also, you can learn to use the palm of your hand when plucking, and you almost come up with a sort of advanced sort of thumb muting technique. You don't have to pluck that way all the time, but it's something that you can do to help aid yourself at first. The main problems that you might encounter when first starting to get into this is your thumb will chances are be strong enough to play already. Most people use their thumb to anchor, or to even use a floating thumb, or they use it to slap with, so the thumb is usually pretty adept. It's also a very strong digit. Your ring finger, on the other hand, is a very weak finger, and it will not be used to plucking as often usually. Another main problem that you might come across is consistency. Getting all four of these fingers to react at the same speed and not have one or two go in deeper than the others can be a real problem. What I found is the best solution to that is using a radiused playing ramp. This is a huge aid when learning how to pluck with this many fingers. A lot of people can play with three or four fingers without using one. I personally find it far easier to use ramp. It also helps with your overall playing, instigating a lighter touch. It's basically changed the way I play, and I think it's a wonderful addition that a lot of bassists are using more and more these days. To help you to start out with, when you want to do this, the best things you can do are try to get yourself a radiused ramp. The reason you get a radiused one is that it matches the radius of how you set up your strings, because that usually matches the radius of your fingerboard. If you get just a flat ramp, then the distance between your string and the ramp on your low B, or on mine is a low E, will be less than the distance between, say, your A string or your D string and the ramp. It basically takes away the point of getting a ramp if you're not going to have a consistent depth between each string. Also, using a metronome is key. I'm going to start off very slowly and show you how I use four fingers. I'm going on 60 beats a minute right now. Basically, you're going to go over exercises like this for a long time before you're comfortable with using all four fingers. It can be tedious at times. Basically, you don't want to increase your speed before you're ready, because you'll end up tripping all over yourself. I'm actually a little out of practice right now for not getting much practice done over the past 2 weeks, so I'm a little sloppy myself. But as you move on, you can, starting at 60 at quarter notes, once you get past that, you can move up your speed, or you can just attempt to make it eighth notes. There's a few ways to do this, actually. Your arm placement has a big deal to do with it. You're not going to be overhanging your hand like a lot of standard bass players would as well, so it also improves with preventing carpal tunnel syndrome. You can either keep your hand in a pretty much flat space and then extend your fingers as they go up, and curve your wrist as you go in, or you can basically move your whole hand across this. While this doesn't give you as much as a solid anchor feeling, it's better for your wrist in that you're keeping it as straight as possible to avoid too much curvature in it. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're learning this technique is to keep it interesting as you're learning it. That way it doesn't become sort of tedious exercise that you want to give up quickly. The best way to get a hold of it and to make it fit into your playing more is to try to integrate it into your playing as much as possible. One way to do this is by practicing almost everything you do, all the songs you play, all the scales you do, by doing 4 fingers or 3 fingers. Now, I've found that doing a lot of the standard scales, where it's either 2 to 3 notes per string, works better with using 3 fingers. Now, you're probably going to want to practice strict alteration using all 4 at first, but you may find, you don't want to necessarily enslave yourself to using 4 fingers all the time. It's not going to be the best technique for everything you use. A lot of things are easier if you just use 2 fingers or 3 fingers. In that case, you don't want to burden yourself by keeping on the technique, but when you're first learning it, you might want to use it in almost every way possible just so you become comfortable with it enough so that you can use it when you want and don't use it when you want. There's many parts when I'm playing where I want to use my ring finger on certain strings, but other parts I know I'm going to be descending a lot, so I'll skip the ring finger and just play with these 3 fingers. Let's start doing a scale trying to do a bit of strict alteration. Now, one way that can help you remember which finger you're on, because it can get confusing at first, is to count 1, 2, 3, 4 as you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, what I often find is the easiest way to descend is to start out with your thumb. That's obviously not a strict alteration, but you're going to find that using your thumb is actually easier to descend than skipping down with, say, your ring finger or your middle finger. I'll do a little sample of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Another way to do this is if you skip your middle finger, skip your ring finger altogether, you might find it easier to do scales, as I mentioned, that have 3 or 2 notes each. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A little offbeat there.